An inconspicuous pile of the roofing material, eternite. An inconspicuous pile of the roofing material, eternite. It's nothing. Someone just left some roofing materials. It's nothing. Someone just left some roofing materials slanted against an old shack. This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, "Whirling in rags." With a well-oiled crack, the lock pops. Don't. Maybe you shouldn't. Of course you should. This is your time to shine, Hobo Cop. Dive into that dumpster for extra content. There is, but you won't like it. Sweat. The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
You see milk and egg rest with one broken egg in it. Some pasta wrapper. Picking up the soggy packages somehow feels familiar. A box falls into pieces in your hands. Baptiste Soleil cereal. There are plastic pasta packages below. Among the threadbare kitchen towels, something catches your eye. A pair of denim trousers. As the legs of the slime-covered jeans begin to unspool from the garbage.
The victim's clothes? Cadaverine odor is faint. If these belong to the deceased, they were removed when he was still in the early stages of decay. Drop them in here, officer. Guitar-marked blue jeans. Pockets empty or emptied. He wore them with a belt, too. A white belt. The belt is missing. That's it.
Something slimy catches your eye. A drab, long-sleeved shirt, olive.
This is a military-type overgarment. No label or serial number. This is the kind of rib-knit shirt that's worn over light armor to conceal it in an...
The rest of the rags are just kitchen variety weight.
All right. We should go to Gart again and ask if he knows who put the clothes in the trash. It could be as simple as someone from the hostel cleaning the yard. Or that one.
The fuck's he on about, kids? You hear that, Kuno? He thinks you're an infant.
See? Not really. All we know is the victim's clothes are in the trash. The lid was locked and his establishment had the key.
The lieutenant nods, then looks back into the trash container. It's just organic waste. Nothing. It's nothing. Nothing more to see here. What's this? A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple peels. Something larger. A clipboard. A blue plastic clipboard with moist papers hanging from it.
Officer, is that your paperwork? It is. Look. The plastic has the RCM street grid on it. If you don't mind my asking, how could you have let your paperwork end up in the trash? What are you talking about? Doeth thou also thorough inventories? You should take stock of your notes. Make sure it's all there. Official notes contain informants' names. If some of it has fallen into the hands of the RCM's adversaries, it would also not hurt to start taking notes on the case. Now, tell me what your eagle eyes see. Or...
Some items, such as the ledger you found, are interactable. Go to your inventory and select the Interact tab to read your paperwork.
Armistice caliber 50 knock cannon. It's a giant rifle, and it's very expensive. Not as expensive as that fat string of pearls snaking around the rotten banana peels. And is that Cordon Electric's preamp with Electra F2 tubes? It is. That catches quite a price. We're talking 12,000. That's too bad, because none of those things are actually in there. There's just food waste and crisp wrappings. All you see is a broken mug with a racist depiction of the Yellow Man, only in its social sensibility.
You've acquired an interactable item. Investigate this item further by going to the
The container sounds a muffled gong.
That's one thing off the list. I think we got it all.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, barely held together by a metal clip. There's a piece of toilet paper, or is it cleaning tissue? No, it's toilet paper, desperately sticking to the back of the blue plastic clipboard. It's a metaphor for you. Below the pathetics, terror. Do not look into its blue heart. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered, with faint red lines, forming short paragraphs. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. 2? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. I prefer a normal caseload. It's a matter of method.
Like a fan of gills, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a name, a title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from snoop fiction and vespertine. Yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolvable Case. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the hookah parlor. Even the rare article-free collapsing tenement. Murder features prominently throughout. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close. There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. Once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. Sadly, the ledger only comes with an old, worn-down lead pencil. It's unfitting of this monumental event. The lieutenant looks at his blue notebook. 2 fat, shiny pens hang from the binder, like large-caliber bullets on an ammo belt. He is not really saying anything, just standing there.
Know that I give this to you with resentment.
The tasks you've completed flow out of the blue oblong pen in a brash freehand uncannily similar to the rest of the letters. The wording comes easily. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria manager. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality. This is an extremely useful tool for a detective of the citizens' militia.
No, actually. Any ideas? Great. That's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good we sorted this out. Yes, how very childish of you. It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still I named it that, to amuse myself. I pray his loved ones never find out. Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your nose now. Yes, you can piece them together using the alphanumeric code on the margin. It always begins with HDB 41. Then, date of initialization and time of arrival on... Why, yes, your precinct number is 41. Every last alphanumeric in the files begins with it. And these are your case files. It's safe to say HDB are your initials. Feeling isn't really the jurisdiction we're in right now. Probably for the best, because HDB feels like bad news. It takes about half an hour to piece one together using the system you've devised. Where do you want to start? It would be very interesting to read about these, wouldn't it? I mean, there seems to be a square-shaped entry wound in the victim's forehead. That's all you got. From the half hour you spent piecing it together, all you know is the entry wound was square-shaped. Who knows? Those pages are missing. What? Don't worry. One day you may still catch the man with the square gun. AKA Leslie and Burke. You were so drunk you didn't remember what it was when you signed on. That, or you were high. Leslie will always take his pants off when he's drunk. Burke will always trash everything. It's just what they do. It is their nature. You cannot change the nature of a man. The only way for Leslie to stop flashing his genitals to bypassers and for Burke to stop dismantling signage and rear-view mirrors would be for them to stop drinking alcohol. You would think that, but you're wrong. Where's the fun in exposing your genitals or breaking stuff in your own home? Can you keep yourself off the streets? Threatening fines, dragging them to the station, locking them up in the hellholes they live in, locking them up in the station, hypnotherapy, even trying to get the local gang of Zemyaki to take them out. The Zemyaki gave them ethanol, so Burke and Leslie would expose and rampage even harder. You tried it all, and still the complaints wouldn't stop. As they hadn't stopped for 10 years. It's plain to see from the files that you, Satellite Officer JV, and Special Consultant TH had more important cases to attend to. You uncover cross-reference to several ongoing investigations. No, that's Burke. Leslie's shtick is flashing his genitals, remember? He must have confused it with the property he likes to damage. In the process, the ledger sustains damage. The compartment within, reserved for permeable documents, is jammed shut. He came at us, and at us. I think he was trying to kill Burko. Can't get out of his apartment, an invalid. With Burke to tend to, Leslie cuts back on the indecent exposure. Maybe he flashes his genitals to Burke. Who knows? But both drunks are off the street. The complaints stop. Which is also why the officer responsible narrowly escapes a disciplinary hearing. This one is relatively easy to reconstruct. Cause of failure. Rent too high. The mural is enormous. 2 silhouettes, a man and a woman. True love is possible, only in the next world. People call it that thing and that fucking thing. It's visible for miles. In 2 days, the station's complaints desk gets clogged with requests to remove the bummer. The graffito crew is easy to track down. Only the bell lectures have the literage of industrial paint to cover the surface. One of the graffito artists is rumored to be rich. They take responsibility for the execution, but not the design. The case files do not show you finding the author of the design. The crew agrees to clean up after themselves. However, your partner, JV, is against the removal, citing public support for conservation. The 9,000 people subjected to the mural's message, all of Lakeside, Central Jamrock, and Villalobos, plus half of the eminent domain, participate in the vote. Although the case begins with what appears to be a lot of rambling on the streets as to how juvenile and stupid the mural, a staggering 78% of voters choose to keep it. Turns out the opposition were a loud minority, and that love truly is possible in the next world. Did someone ask what you believe in, man with the smelly toilet ledger? What? Some assholes brought their couch outside and hung out on it. In the middle of the street, on the roof, on the hillside by the motorway. Yes, as you've said here, insufferable rock and roll assholes. Young people are the worst. So anyway, you got a complaint about the damn sofa. They were leaving it out in all these unexpected and whimsical locations. They took it to where they also took photos of themselves on it. And cigarette butts, coffee cups, stupid couch. You had to clean it all up. No, you didn't have time for that. These notes show that you have what is called a real goddamn job. Murder. Tum-tum-tum. Beaten to death by a throng of Villalobos gang members when him and his partner JM, only initials mentioned, answered a call one night. It's a sad story. Joseph Mills was on this case that he just couldn't solve. Was doing it solo. Said it was a real nutcracker. A real brain twister. Was on it for, like, a month. Mills didn't get off the pot. Not yet. He kept at it for a couple of weeks more, racking his brains, running with every theory, as outlandish as they seemed. No, he was awful. Awful sense of humor, too. The worst jokes you've ever heard. Really rapey. Still, he'd been on it for months now. Okay. So the case is handed to you because Mills isn't getting anywhere, and you look into it. Here's the setup. A young man is found dead in a hookah parlor. You know, those places where you go and smoke bubblegum-flavored vapor all day. Yeah, so anyway, young man in his 20s found with his skull busted open, right on the floor of the hookah parlor, in the middle of the day. No one else is in there. No one enters. No one exits. He's just sucking on his watermelon hookah all morning, all noon, like he usually does. He's a regular. No calls, nothing. Just suck. Mills has no idea. Invisible assassin. See? You can't even read the thing without solving it. Yeah, it was that. Turns out hookah does do something. Smoking hookah. Didn't you hear? I don't know. Trying to come up with a movie script, maybe. Anyway, that was murder at the hookah parlor. Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of sodden papers still. An aluminium block runs the width of the board. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence.
What? That thing. It's a halogen watermark. We use it for adding information to... It depends. Aside from an anti-counterfeiting stamp, mine has my station number and address.
Maybe yours will have how many cases you've solved. How many years you've been on the force, he's thinking. It'll have that.
Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. All RCM vehicles have headlights designed to reveal halogen watermarks.
This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag from the clipboard in your hand, it's a sorry sight. In the back, you see thin, translucent copier paper. Then rip them from the binder and hand them out. 3. The topmost are misconduct fines. The middle ones are station calls. You don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color. You see the parameters of a deceased human form. These are quite sinister in tone. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call are the criminal charges you risk by a monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 real. But they appear pleasantly vague. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms and hand them to people. Fines for wrongdoers, interview requests for bad guys, and field autopsies to dead. The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear. It's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Permeables. It's not hidden per se. The compartment is made for permeable material. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not see-through. Blue. The blue heart. Don't look into it. With your hands, you 4-sized pages hang from the clip screwed to the top of the board. The slides snap back into place. It should be possible to just... Without resistance or sound, the two panels move against each other. 2 ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. 2 octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles toward each other in the colored pencil drawings. The tickets permit access to the zoo in Revachol East. The aquarium costs extra. These let you go there, too. Thin wax paper has been glued to a piece of cardboard. Sounds like leaves rustling when you pick it up. You see violet flowers. It smells of chewing gum. A touch of cinnamon, the end of summer. Familiar handwriting lines the inside of the card. Looped, round letters in a woman's hand. A young woman in her 20s. There is care, effort, and a smile. Harry, it begins. You're already reading. I wanted to write you a letter so you can read it when you wake up. Throw it away, please. Your hand shakes holding the card. Every morning when I step out and you're... Every step I take, it grows. By the time I reach the fuel station, it has filled me entirely. I step onto the light rail and look back. Sparks fall from the bow collector. You. Every step I take will get lighter. It almost makes me run. Sometimes I do. Kisses, kisses, kisses. You feel the air sucked out of your lungs and the blood sucked out of your head. You feel the ledger slip from your hand. No, hold on. To what?
Detective, is everything all right?
There is nothing Again. Nothing sad, brother. No treachery, just blackout. Well, almost nothing. That's me. Blue eyes, that's me. Is it?
A bitter, caustic sense of loss remains. Even in the darkness, great sorrows. Here in the paleo-mammalian cortex, we call it the shadow. Because it's always there.
Bloated corpse of the past resurfacing.
Beautiful. Believe me, stupid ape, its lack of beauty was not the problem.
There is no Voyager Road. There are no roads, no houses, no lights in the windows. You think they would let you?
Oh, but you are. They're pouring something on you.
It's delicious. Glowing lights on a dashboard emerge out of nothingness. In the upholstered cabin of Lieutenant Kitsuragi's motor carriage,
Drink.
the water is cold, silvery, the stuff of life itself.
Drink. You haven't drunk water in 2 days. Did you know the human body is not made to survive on alcohol alone?
With greedy gulps, you down half a liter of cold water.
What happened? You were reading your paperwork. Then you passed out. 10 minutes, maybe. That does sometimes happen.
He replies with such understanding, it's as if the burnt-out ruins of the past were an occupational hazard.
You dropped these. Are you okay to proceed? Good.
The Ledger of Failure and Hatred is a special item that can be used both as an interactable and a tool equipped in your held slot for skill bonuses. Find it under the Tools tab in your inventory.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A cabbage of papers hanging from the board. Oh, and the cool piece of toilet paper is stuck to the back. Without resistance or sound, the two panels move against each other. The compartment is now open. Inside, you see 2 ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. 2 octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles toward each other It's slightly, ever so slightly, difficult to breathe once you've done so. The acidic stench of rotting food has rubbed off on the cellulose. It now forms the base of the experience. This base surrounded by a faint air of spoiled meat. The stuff of death itself. It takes about half an hour to piece one together, using the system you've devised. Not much has changed in the meanwhile. Arson, petty theft, spousal abuse. You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone.
All right. Ready?
He's downplaying his excitement. The dashboard lights up with the lights unfold with a...
There you go. I'll turn them off from the remote once you're done. We just need to stand in front of the machine now.
As you hold your ledger's clip under the headlamp, a shimmering iridescent pattern appears. One you've definitely seen before. It's not unlike the pattern from the racist lorryman's boots.
There she is. Revachol West.
Around the borders of the watermark are dozens, no, hundreds of micro-perforations. The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the RCM, and yet the major arteries of Revachol are all recognizable. A rat brazenly darts past you and disappears amongst the stopped lorries.
Ah, Martinez. Let me see. Right here. It has its problems.
The rectangular watermark is overlaid with the logo of the R.
Let me see. Right here. Oh yes. Coal City. Le Royaume. The burnt-out quarter.
There are many of them, and they are divided into 3 separate rows. The first row has 18 dots. The next is the longest. It runs all the way around the border, and then some. You count 216 perforations. Considering that nice, large number, a wave of pride washes over you. Though you can't say why, the last row has 3 perforations. That's it.
Those are perforations. They represent your record as an officer of the RCM. They are your statistics, as it were.
Alpha male officers who are proud of their numbers.
The first row represents your years of service. 18 years. Okay, not bad at all. What did you do before you volunteered? That's what it says. I might have guessed even longer based on your age. Cool. I'm glad you joined us. Not a lot of money in doom crying. This next row, the one that wraps all the way around, is your number of closed cases. Wow, more than 200. It's quite a lot, even for someone who's been on the force for nearly 2 decades. Usually, clearing more than 10 cases a year puts you in the 90th percentile of all RCM officers. Call it what you want. You are a valuable member of your precinct. Right. Those are your confirmed kills. You've got precisely 3 perforations there. For an RCM officer, especially Precinct 41, which is in the Jamrock quarter, there are certain officers who treat their kills like some kind of ghoulish game. But it seems as though you are, or at least were, one of the good ones. So we have that to be thankful for. Yes.
It's not a problem for him to state it, however.
Everyone has their own method of coping. Some more effective or self-destructive than others. Personally, I find it helps to keep up a few hobbies. Why not gardening? You've already got the yellow gloves.
It's meant in earnest. Please don't mistake it for a jab. The lieutenant nods.
Right. I'll go turn off the lights.
You can now see your statistics on your journal page.
with a matrix of push buttons lists all the companies in the East Delta Commerce Center. Nothing happens after you ring the doorbell. They don't want to talk to you. This button looks new.
Huh. This button looks new. It's probably not connected yet.
You see a set of tire tracks in the brown slush that covers the plaza mosaic. The tire tracks were left here by an unknown event that took place some days ago. It's a message, written in the language of burnt rubber. Some of that rubber stuck to the tiles right in front of the whirling-in rags, and then accelerated straight into the fence. The driver proceeded to back out of the yard, barely stopping before hitting the adjacent building, before heading south. Must have been in a hurry.
You are correct.
Somehow that makes you feel scared.
I'm not sure. There are plenty of traffic accidents waiting to happen in Martinez.
You could follow the track south. There seems to be a canal there. There he still is, looking right through you with his white eyes. The body below is entirely dedicated to that corpse smell.
Active decay. It's okay to throw up, officer. No one is judging.
He's about to blow! Cop's gonna blow, Kuno!
Active decay.
He's about to blow! Cop's gonna blow!
The smell is repulsive. Too late, until a pool of vomit lies under your feet and your throat stings from the stomach acid.
It's okay. Happens to everyone. The hangover is clearly making this worse for you. You could use some ammonia to clear your head, if you can handle the headache. Some officers use it to deal with cadaverine odor. There is Frit nearby, east of the hostel. They usually have a small apothecary. There's a greenhouse here, and a gardener with a wheelbarrow on the corner of the whirling rags.
Acquiring ammonia will provide a modifier to the white check. Modifiers make checks easier and allow you to retry them.
An inconspicuous pile of the roofing material, Eternite. Because there's a secret door hidden behind the panels of Eternite. That's why there it is. You see a shabby little door.
What is this then? A tool shed? Yes?
No response. He's having trouble processing it, believing it even.
Have you tried concentrating on something other than your personal affairs?
There is a sudden, harsh edge to his voice, like he's tired of hearing about your personal affairs.
Try work. The case at hand. It can work miracles. Focus on other people's troubles, not your own. Have you tried concentrating on something other than...
There is a sudden, harsh edge to his voice.
Focus on other people's troubles.
A moment passes. The lieutenant glances at the sports watch on his wrist.
Me? I don't see how my life is pertinent to the investigation. If you insist. What do you want to know? That's correct.
You feel a slight urge to put the lieutenant down for this, but you can't quite muster enough testosterone.
Are they? They are mostly just cumbersome.
You could use a good, normal peer yourself.
That's because I'm half Seolite, or quarter. My father's father was from Seoul. So was my grandmother, but from my mother's side. It's a part of the world, officer. A geopolitical entity and a geographic division.
Seoul is a protectionist, isolationist, pan-Isolary state west of the Insulindian Isola. Actually, it's quite interesting. Some would even say mysterious.
You're barking up the wrong tree. I don't speak a word of Seolite. I've never met either one of my grandparents. No.
Your brain sends the signal to your lips, but they refuse the order. The eyebrow is exercising psionic control over you.
Something the matter, detective?
What's going on? It's like you're a puppet in his hands. The lieutenant relaxes his eyebrow, and you seem to regain control of yourself.
What do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about.
The lieutenant's conceptualization skills must be rather rudimentary. The lieutenant is a police officer of the old school, but this isn't an old school case.
So what? For real detective work, nothing beats a good notebook.
The lieutenant produces his small blue notebook. That's where his conversations with himself take place. We all have our different medium. You're super lucid, yet psychedelic. You don't need office supplies to connect to your nervous system.
Good. Let's change the subject. What do you want to know? Maybe you can tell me what you do know, to help me narrow it down a bit. Do you want me to brief you? 3 days ago, the RCM Emergencies Desk received a report about a security guard who was found hanged in Martinez. An anonymous caller said there was a dead body behind the Whirling in Rags hostel cafeteria. During that time, the victim had been stripped of his belongings. The caller did not identify him, but used the word lynching. There is an ongoing labor dispute between the local dock workers and the logistics company Wild Pines. I was told we should approach the death as part of this dispute. A security guard or worker of some sort hired by Wild Pines. This was just hearsay from Martinez, of course. We need to find out the truth. They didn't identify themselves in any way. The tone was muffled using a device of some sort. There's a strong prejudice against involving the RCM in what's seen as union matters. The dock workers' union is the de facto police in Martinez. Now it appears they've started executing too. That's right. I'm afraid you and I are pawns in a pissing competition.
His disdain is clear. This man would not use such an expression of...
You don't know? I assumed you were in on it. Better still than an imbecilic cop-off. It's just stupidity. We shouldn't waste any more time on it. Later. Was there anything else you wanted to know about the case? No, it's not a particularly mysterious case. The deceased is a security guard for a corporation involved in a labor dispute. It doesn't take a DeLorean polymath to put the pieces together. I just don't see the case getting more mysterious than that. I can assure nothing like that will happen. Do you know why not? Because it's not part of reality.
So desperately mundane. There's something the lieutenant isn't seeing. The universe is too irrational, too morally complex. You should convince him.
You mean like a brief? Do you want me to brief you again? 3 days ago, the RCM Emergencies Desk received a report. During that time, the victim had been stripped of his belongings. Okay then. Was there anything else you wanted to know? Good.
as if you did it. Yes, you killed him. And then, as part of the plan, you drowned out the memory. Maybe this is why your chest feels so hollow. You did an awful thing, and you can't even bring yourself to acknowledge it. Are you sure you would have the strength to take down a hardened mercenary? You're not in the best shape.
And what has led you to this conclusion? Well, we've yet to find any real evidence pointing to you in this case, or even a possible motive. So let's not add you to the list of suspects just yet. I find that highly unlikely. It's not unusual for detectives to feel complicit in a crime until the perpetrator is apprehended, especially when the investigation is dragging. So let's get back to it, shall we?
Be still, my beating heart. The lieutenant isn't studying the powder. There's a good vague way to ask where he stands on drug use. Professionally, I mean.
Perhaps not. This is below our pay grade, detective. See that ladder there? It's probably another way into the industrial harbor, no?
Looks like someone left his tarpaulin cloak hanging on the railing here.
Yes, it's probably yours. It bears the RCM insignia. You could probably make the jump. You look like you've done some track and field in your day. The cloak? I do think it's yours, yes. Well, it doesn't seem too dangerous. 2 meter stops. Whenever you're ready to do it, I'll be right behind you.
The cloak looks like a bag of goodies floating in the wind. Who knows what its pockets may hide? The wind is aggressive up here. The lieutenant looks at the enormous crane towering in the distance. The look in his eyes is a mix of the engineer-like interest and the wonder of a 6-year-old seeing a horse for the first time.
Yes, that's one way of putting it. But I digress. We were focusing on your cloak here.
As you leap in the air, a chilly breeze engulfs you, sharpening your senses. As the concrete floor welcomes you, you realize it's been a while since you felt so alive.
I knew you could do it.
With your feet firmly planted on the concrete, the noise of the harbor rushes back in. snow is quietly covering the numerous wine bottles and cigarette butts on the ground.
Well, yes, I think we can say with relative confidence that it was you. It really doesn't. Let's turn our attention elsewhere and move.
This is the night watchman's booth. The name on the door reads, René Arnaud.
If you must.
Nothing incriminating catches your eye. It's a black and white photo of a young couple out in a street fair. The man is young, dark-skinned, and dressed in a Royal Carabinieri uniform.
Why did you take that? Fine, but let's move. I don't...
Rusting control panel with marsh. With a loud grind, the crane shifts overhead, moving a massive metal container through the air. With a surprisingly quiet thunk, the harbor sleeps as the strike rages in the distance. The crane can rest again, moving this container, of course. For this purpose,
I can't see how that was worth the ruckus, except for seeing the crane in action, which I admit was satisfying.
Before you stands a cargo container.
You do? There are a million containers here. Why are you fixating on this one? There may very well be, but we are not here to interact with container.
No reply. You attempt to turn and to your left, the lieutenant considers your actions with some puzzlement. Before the cargo container. Its drawer has not lessened since you were last here. If anything, it seems to have grown slightly. Why are you even trying to open a door with rhetoric?
Because what wasn't an option? Now is not the time to get philosophical, detective.
You attempt to your left. The lieutenant considers your actions with some puzzlement.
Container, container.
The lyrics to this container song are being made up, as the accent is so thick it's impossible not to notice he's Ubi.
Container, container, used to be Wild Pines. Everard, 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 he looks after everyone.
The look in his deep blue eyes is as sincere as you've ever seen.
I see you are not a union man, mister. Did you get lost? You're not one of them scabs, are you? I mean, I don't personally mind. Folks is just folks, you know, and folks gotta eat. Just some of the other guys don't look too kindly on the scabbing kind, if you know what I mean, mister. Oh, that one. That should be empty as far as I know. Lots of containers here have nothing in them.
Told you.
Oh, you want Mr. Everard then? He's an awfully nice fellow, he is. Him and his brother are both nice fellows. They've lived their entire lives in this here neighborhood. Guys like Mr. Everard and Mr. Edgar, his brother, are real good guys. Made Martinez what it is today. Oh, Mr. Everard is where he always is. In his office, of course. Yes, yes. I'm like Mr. Everard's right-hand man. Actually, Miss Beaufort is the right-hand man, but she's a lady.
Who is this, Miss Beaufort?
A real pretty lady with a skin like those Douai Sucre candy bars my missus likes so much. But I can't listen to the radio all the time.
Stay on this Miss Beaufort topic.
Oh, Lizzie, she is a real sharp tool. Mr. Everard put her through some fancy school and everything, east of the river. 4 years she was gone, and when she came back, she was all fancy and lawyerly.
He respects that word.
But she's a real nice girl.
For a fraction of a second, there's sadness in his eye.
If me missus and me was to have a child, I'd be real happy if she turned out like her. Dr. Lemaitre said so.
So Everard trained a lawyer named Miss Beaufort. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, thanks a lot. Sometimes I feel some of the guys don't really get how much I bust my ass for them here.
The white rectangle on your clothes might not mean an awful lot in Martinez, but the recognition from an authority figure made Leo's day.
Bye-bye now.
Before you is a walrus of a man. With great effort, he straightens himself up in his chair, yet says nothing.
Welcome, Mr. Dubois, Mr. Kitsuragi. It's good of you two to stop by. Please, have a seat. I'm Everard Clare, head of the GOBEHZ Union here in Martinez. I'd offer you my hand, but unfortunately my health prevents me from getting up.
He looks extremely comfortable. The tiny folding chair, on the other hand, looks like a torture device.
You go ahead, detective.
Whatever he has in store for you, it can't be good. Forget about that. What's with this Dubois stuff? You're getting some seriously bad vibes from that name.
Please, Mr. Dubois, let us converse in a civilized manner, as equals.
It's nothing. Yes, that's probably right. It's nothing.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you're a reasonable man, and reasonable men can be of great use to one another. So tell me, how can the head of the GOBEHZ Union help a representative of the Revachol Citizens Militia today?
The chair you're sitting on has got to be the most uncomfortable chair in the world. It's violating your backside.
Oh, by the way, I heard you got a rather rude reception from a certain Lawrence Gart. This should take care of that nonsense. It should be sufficient to cover your expenses for a few days and patch over your differences.
Wow, that's 25 real. That's good money. You need it.
Is there anything you'd like to say to me?
No.
Cool? I wouldn't go that far. I'm sure there are cooler things than delivering a comically oversized novelty check. Now, I'd like to set your mind at ease about one other matter. Your lost gun. Let me assure you, Union people are on it as we speak.
His slug-like lips move, but all you hear is an echo. Lost gun. The world is swallowed by a black hole of fear. Only 2 words escape its gravitational pull. When he said, "Don't worry," he actually meant.
I know everything, Harry. Right now, I know that you're worried. Don't be worried. Everything's going to be all right. It's not like you left it loaded. You didn't lose a loaded gun. Local children aren't out there playing with it right now, pointing it into their own mouths. It's in a safe place. I just know it. I have a feeling everything's going to be all right.
God, you're sweating.
Mr. Dubois, you don't look so good.
What is this, Mr. Dubois? He keeps repeating. What is he trying to pull here?
Mr. Dubois! Mr. Dubois! Harry! Mr. Dubois, are you okay?
Maybe you could use your hands somehow, in a kind of throw-in motion, like you're throwing that...
Don't be dramatic.
What an odd demonstration of... you got me, Harry. I don't even know what. As entertaining as it was...
Okay, enough. We are here to ask you some questions.
Quick, it is about time to stop embarrassing yourself. Questions will help you regain some of your lost dignity.
Harry, honestly, I'm just relieved you didn't get a hernia. A man your age... Yes, Harry. You are obviously in peak physical condition, and I salute both your initiative and your physical prowess. Very impressive, Harry. Anyway, I assure you, I am a very well-informed man. Of course, let us dispatch with the formality. My God, so it's true. I didn't want to believe it, but you are a fantastic science fiction amnesiac cop, aren't you?
I think the odds of that are...
It might be a good idea to hide your confusion. I mean...
So good to hear that, Harry. Apparently my sources were wrong. However, if you did have a spot of memory trouble, I could help you out.
Words flow like a river of honey from his lip. I guess word has already reached him. No matter.
Are you trying to tell me you've gotten hold of some of our documents?
Mr. Kitsuragi, would you mind? Me and Harry are talking about his lost identity, right?
Don't just jump to the folder. That's not smart. Shows you're on the edge. Do some probing first.
Ah, this? My friends in your organization gave it to me, Harry.
This translates into, haha, you guys are so corrupt.
I find that very suspicious.
I'm afraid this is meant for Union eyes only, Mr. Kitsuragi. I'm sure you understand. Please continue, Harry. Well, Harry, if I were to sum you up in one word, it would be apologetic. Yes. You seem to be, a lot of the time, but right now there's no reason to be. Let loose a little. It's Harry. Harry Dubois.
You don't feel like either one of these things.
No, I'm really not. You fine, Harry. You can even be Harry Raphael Dubois de Costo, or whatever you choose to be. Mr. Kitsuragi doesn't seem even slightly empathetic to your memory loss, Harry. But of course, Harry. Your precinct is the 41st and you live in Jamrock. You're a Jamrock boy. A long way from home, but
He doesn't really seem to know any more about it.
Family? Harry, you're not a family man. There's not one peep of family in here. Unless you think you're a family man. Do you strike yourself as a family man, Harry? Well, yes. I'm sure you're going to make one little boy or a girl very happy and proud one day, Harry.
As you look at the folder, Everard covers it with his hand and pets it.
Okay, Harry, you got me. This is from the Census Bureau, not the RCM. Those Census Bureau people are absolutely corrupt.
He got the name from the Census Bureau, and everything else from your actions here in
Yes, Mr. Kitsuragi from the Census Bureau. Like I said, now I'm actually a very busy man.
That means he doesn't really know anything about you. A pity. The mystery of you will have to remain a mystery for the time being.
Yes, that's what I said. Try to keep up, okay? Let's move on. Yes, your lost gun. My best men are on it. They're turning every stone, searching every playground. Your gun will be found, Harry.
The only way to find it seems to be working with him. He might even be holding your gun hostage.
Damn it, Harry. That's exactly what it means.
Of course. I understand. We help you, you help us.
My dear Harry, there are literally millions of containers in this harbor. Harry, you smooth-talking son of a bitch. Time is a precious resource, and I don't have enough of it to count containers with you.
Smooth talking. Maybe that's the way to go about opening the container.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's no secret that the lynching is connected to the strike. So much to talk about. Honestly, it's been weighing on me so heavily. But there's a thing that's been keeping me up at night. I want to talk about the hanging. I mean, if we could just calmly talk, exchange information.
Yes, that sounds good.
But I can't think straight with this thing weighing on me. You're police officers, aren't you? I have a crazy idea. You guys are basically door-opening machines. Incredibly talented at opening doors. Oh, you're being too modest, my friend.
An excellent opportunity presents itself, sire. You could win the trust of the arch-liar, pretend to play into his hand. Then...
Fantastic, my friend. Just let me know when it's done and we can take our friendship to the next level. You can get the key from Manana. He's down by the gates. Manana's like a free agent in the Union. Special operations. Hardened socialist. Just open the door. You don't need to go in or anything. I just want that weasel to come home and see the unlocked door. Wait. You need this to get in and out through the gate. Here. You're one of us now.
Hey, so we've been monitoring you internally, and now we know your Copo type. Yes. Guess what's yours? Yes, sorry cop. The cop who's sorriest. Let's make it official then, shall we? Huge lack of enthusiasm going on in here. Oh, you know, Apocalypse, Superstellar, the advanced interesting cop, Liquid Shadow cop. But you're too sorry to say those things. What? Jealous of the sorry cop? They'll be super fine. It'll be totally... Of course you are. It's okay. See if you can get something out of this. That won't happen. Before the cargo container. Its drawer has not lessened since you were last here. If anything, it seems to have grown slightly. An imposing combination of a punch clock and a payphone is looking down at you from the wall. A note on the side says, "Tokens unavailable due to strike." On second glance, someone has forgotten to properly close one of the drawers.
It's unfortunate for the Union to just leave their
Let's see what's inside. The drawer opens, hundreds of documents, and the same materials being handed over to companies inside Revachol. It's hard to make sense of this thicket of company names, dates, quantities, and percentages. You try to focus, but the lines are getting blurry. Whatever's hidden here is hidden well. It appears to be a to-do list written in large, uneven capital. Remember, Leo, Everart's shoes, special whirling borscht, water Everart's plants, sweep office floor. All items on the list have been crossed out.
One of his aides must have left it.
What is so special about this, Borscht? Code for drugs? Remember, Leo, hundreds, and the same. You already went through all of these. The drawer slides shut.
Nobody betrays your degeneracy.
Yeah, Measurehead. His body totally betrays his degeneracy.
You have succumbed to Al Ghul. You reek of it. An invisible sword of...
It's not good.
It's like a rat crawled into your stomach, got drunk and drowned.
Your mouth moves, but the one who speaks is Al Ghul. You are but a vessel for the Ghul now. Very Occidental Haplogroup B4 is done giving orders around here.
Does this remind you of someone? The guy down there?
Look at my craniology. I am the pinnacle of my haplogroup. The pink blob is a bad example. You gave the world eugenics, electricity, and powerful weapons of war like missiles and aerostatic aircraft. You dominated lesser cultures. You will be superseded. Isn't that right, babe?
It is, baby, yeah. You know it.
Enough with this begging. Bring your troops to the Simonine Islands and to Boogie Street, and we will pulverize you. When the walls will be lined with bottles of Al Ghul, your beloved beverage. Inside, we will store the odes to homosexuality you call art, and your microcephalics.
You could internalize Measurehead's race theory. It would enrich you rhetorically. Well, not as such. What you do with the mastery of advanced race theory is up to you. You could ask what kind of races there are first. Classification is core to this stuff.
Do you? What thing?
You are obviously a liberal, Sayerlight. A polyculturalist. I can see it from your love of microtechnology and your sartorial choices. Do not deny there are 3 categories of race. Type A, those are the Simonese, the Areopagite, and the Occidentals. Excluding them, a receding genetic pool has led them out on reprehensible street parades. In mound cities like Stadskanal, you know them by the names of their nation-states. The Orani...
Mahon is a derogative term for first world people of Gotwaldian descent. They do not all have eczema. Also, people of Katla, like the Suru and the Uhu, are much more lactose intolerant. In some municipalities of Oranje, people do wear shoes made of wood to
The Mound are proof that you can have too much Occidental racial purity. The Vespertines and Messenians of Vesper and Messina, the ancient Meteoran, the other law overproduction, as proven by the Mound and the Mesk. Occidental type A is in retrograde. The Areopagites are sleek, long-headed. The latter is perfected and adapting.
Nature was not capable of more.
You need to know both types A and B.
Yeah, you have to have context, you know.
Type B, yes, pinkness. The koi,
Wouldn't he be one for ethnostate?
they are microscopic. Its leaders will be the genetic epitome of the Simonese and Areopagites. Revacholians, halfway between type A and the racial Cauldron. Two,
Is it 82,000 years that we've been recording history?
the Revolution came to Ravachol from Graal. The Revolution is fatal, familia. Enough of type. Tips, the F. Lesser races like the mosquito. A grotesque the mosquito is born sterile. Then there is the Semino-Koiki-Kaimir. The Koiko, as you know, are very servile. This will never happen. The Simonese and the Koiko may have similar but enough. It is cruel to entertain ourselves. You understand nothing. To solve the great race enigma, you have to first ask yourself. You need to internalize what you have heard here today. I cannot possibly imagine what else we have to discuss, Tibere Vacholian. Your love for disco music and venereal disease?
He does not so much as glance at the object.
Stop showing me your pathetic cup. I have no interest in it. Don't be vulgar. Mr. Clare is a man of... Also, to serve is noble. It takes discipline. Idiotic communism is the single greatest contributor. Above all, rampant multinational finance still reigning large. Tell me, where have you gotten your love of pathetic communism from? Of course it does. You are a degenerate individualist and a rock and roll rebel. I am not surprised you enjoy it so much. This has happened to many of the side products of the inevitable cultural victory of the Seminese race.
Measurehead stoically looks to the distance, in silence. You're hazy on the notion of a scab. Smells like politics, though.
I was just messing with you. No one's ever seen a cop scab. Imagine, you cops going on a strike, but then another cop comes in and says, let us cop for less money. Speaking of, what brings the RCM here, to the Wild North? Come to see the strife? The mercenary, eh? Who could have killed him? That's indeed the question. Why even do such a thing? What a thought! Why would noble workers resort to such a thing? Your dead guy was an enemy combatant. He was an agent of the opposition, attempting to undermine our honorable efforts. I ain't the murdering type. But that's just me. Large organizations like our union have all sorts of men.
Understood. This has been of limited use.
No problem. I wish the best to you in your search. A key, huh? What door is this key supposed to open? Oh, say no more. I got you. I got that key right here. And let me tell you, it's mighty good of you to help us out during the strike. Working class solidarity, as they say. Oller Weasel? Oh. What you're looking for is a basement door behind the greenhouse. That's behind the Whirling in Rags. That's all I know. Our organization is what you call compartmentalized.
Okay, but where did you get the key from?
The janitor gave it to me. Nice fella. We talked about life and none of this mess we're in. This jiving and juggling. I'm more of a philosophical dock worker. I like to talk about the big picture stuff. Who I am, who you are, what we are fighting for.
He means he's not going to tell you, cause he doesn't know. But he will shoot his mouth off with you now that you're working for Evera. Who he is, and what they're fighting for. This is interesting.
We're negotiating our share. Aye. This stuff, they already covered. Never grateful. Were we ever grateful, we'd have nothing. All of it. However, right now we want all the harbor workers to be on the company's board. So
this seditious tool sounds like communism. Just so we're on the same page, communism is basically wanting to kill the rich people or deporting them to a labor camp in southeast Grad.
Sure thing.
This was great. You feel mentally reinvigorated. The front of this quarterly journal features a large satirical portrait of the late King Friesel. From the sides of his head, a pair of white antlers spread to the corners of the cover. To your disappointment, there aren't any full-color pictures to direct your attention. After rifling the pages with your thumb, the magazine is divided into several sections.